Hey there, friends and enemies. JoPaWrites here again, and RNG absolutely blessed me this weekend. I got my first contest mode clear of Root of Nightmares and was able to get the Conditional Finality exotic shotgun to drop. This thing is so much fun. I absolutely love it. And on top of that, it was my first time getting the exotic from the new raid to drop on my first clear. So that made it feel even more special. Now, another reason I'm very excited about this is because, in my opinion, from everything that I've tested out so far, Conditional Finality is the best PVE shotgun in the game all around. The reason I say that is it just does a bunch of things really, really well. It might not out damage every other shotgun in the game. It might not be the best shotgun for add clear, although it's pretty high up there. But when you combine everything and you want to use it in various activities that aren't just boss melting, it is tremendous. It does a lot of damage to a lot of different enemies. It can stun champions. It's just great, and I absolutely love it. So let's go get into what this weapon is all about. It is a stasis special shotgun that goes in the first slot. It's 165 rounds per minute and has the intrinsic trait Split Decision. Dual barrel split into stasis and solar damage. Essentially how this works is you'll shoot one shot that is stasis, followed up with a second one that is solar before you have to reload. You can only shoot 2 shots before having to reload at any given time. So keep that in mind when you're messing with your build with this weapon, because you really want to kind of lean into that and figure out the best way to counteract having to reload. Either it's faster reload with a stasis mod, whether it is the stasis holster you can use, especially if you're running a stasis heavy weapon as well. You can really take advantage of both of those to maximize your damage and what you're doing with the weapon. But it gets even better. The next trait is Paracausal Pellets. Landing nearly all stasis pellets will freeze targets. Landing nearly all solar pellets will ignite targets. You can, again, very much lean into this with your builds. One, you can stun unstoppables with either the freeze or the ignite, so keep that in mind. You don't have to automatically reload if you don't land enough pellets to stun it the first time. But if you do stun it with your freeze, you're able to do heavy damage and almost always kill the champion with this weapon before it is unstunned, and it just feels really, really good to do. The other perks that this has: shortened barrel, greatly improves handling at the cost of range and stability. You can really feel the 95 handling on this weapon as you swap between weapons, and that's another reason why the holster mods work out very, very well, because you can really swap between these pretty quickly. Or you can use something like a dodge reload or anything like that if you really want to as well. But the reload is pretty fast in the first place, and then you combine it with something like a holster or like a stasis reloader or something like that. And again, keep in mind, you can't use solar mods with this. It is a stasis weapon technically, so you're going to want to use those stasis mods, or you're going to want to do a stasis surge to get the best bang for your buck with this weapon. It also has alloy magazine for faster reloads when the magazine is empty. Again, it reloads pretty quickly, but it's just only having 2 shots before having to reload is one of the drawbacks of this weapon. However, if you're able to freeze an enemy and ignite them, you're going to do heavy chunks of damage and oftentimes stagger those enemies as well. It also has textured grip, greatly increases handling, slightly decreases stability. The decrease in stability doesn't matter, but again, this near max handling makes this weapon really, really good for swapping back and forth between weapons. If you like to quick swap like some people do, then this is going to play right into your hands. I actually use this in a build with a strand grapple melee as well as the Fellwinter's Helm. I was able to grapple in, explode some enemies, and then chunk down any larger enemies with the shotgun, and it just paired together so nicely. I absolutely love it. You can also pair it with other builds, right? If you have an ignition build for a solar character, if you have a stasis build when you want to freeze enemies all the time, either of those options works really well, and this thing is just all around very, very good. Again, if you're looking for a weapon that's just going to do primary DPS, this might not be the case. However, keep in mind, because it is a stasis weapon, again, if you're running a stasis heavy weapon as well, you're able to quick swap between those and use the same mods for those as well, so you won't have to have a bunch of different types of damage mods, because your weapon in the second slot is always going to be something like Void, Solar, or Arc, so you're not going to get the benefit of those mods from that. Other than that, I just really enjoy this weapon. I think it's one that everybody should be chasing. If you did not know, completing challenges within the raid, like encounter challenges, will give you a better chance to get this to drop. So just like they've done with the dungeons in the past, there are ways to increase your chances of getting the exotic, which I think is a good thing, so that way you're not stuck trying to get this weapon after 50 clears, because obviously that can be a bit frustrating. So keep that in mind. I know this is one that I would be chasing if I didn't have it already, but I highly recommend you do, because it just feels really, really good, and it pairs well with a lot of different options. I was running an AR with incandescent, and there was just lots of ignitions and explosions, and there's just something nice about having a shotgun that hits so hard. I've been a fan of Acreus for a long time, even though that one I don't think has always performed how I would have liked it to as a heavy weapon. So this has definitely taken its place and fills the niche that I would want this to fill as an exotic, and as something that I want to feel like a heavy, powerful shotgun. I had once thought that this was going to be what it was going to feel like with Duality, but that is more of a PvP weapon in my opinion, and it really doesn't shine in PvE nearly as well as Conditional Finality. This thing is just, I will probably rave about it a lot in the near future. You're going to see it with a bunch of my different builds, just because of how well it synergizes with everything, and because we see unstoppable champions a lot this season in the seasonal activity as well as in the Nightfalls. So because of that, it's one that I think I'll be rocking a lot. Maybe not in Grandmasters. That's going to be a big question, because you do have to play at range a little bit more. But knowing that unstoppable champions push you quite often, we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm definitely going to use it in the raid. I'm going to use it in a lot of different places. I'd love to hear from you guys. Are you excited to try to get this weapon? Is it one that you're really looking forward to snagging eventually? Or is it one that you could take or leave? No big deal either way. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. I'm going to have loads more Destiny 2 content coming up in the near future. I have a Warlock build with Fellwinter's Helm that is phenomenal. I've got some testing for the Two-Tailed Fox catalyst that dropped as well, that I've been kind of messing around with quite a bit, so definitely stay tuned for all of that. Anyway, my name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.